everyone, welcome to another video. In this video, I'm going to be showing you the best way that I have found to remove Nerf text and Nerf logos off of your blaster for when you're going to paint them. Sometimes you just don't want to have long shot or whatever the blaster name is on your blaster when you're going to paint it, or you don't want it to say Nerf because you're going to put something else on there, or you just don't like the liability text, and that's perfectly understandable. While a lot of people use a Dremel and sanding drum, the problem with that is that you get these large scratch trenches basically left in your blaster that look really ugly, and sometimes they're hard to fill in. Well, the best way I have found to get rid of Nerf logos and Nerf text is to use a simple razor blade. Now, I've mentioned razor blades a few times in my videos, and that's because I have a ton of these just in a box waiting to be used, and I use them for a lot of things. It's kind of weird how many things you can do with a razor blade when it comes to Nerf modding, but all you're really going to need to do this is a razor blade and some sandpaper. The sandpaper, you should make it the same grit as what you use to sand your blaster before you clean and prime it. So I use 220 grit. I found that to be a really nice grit for me for when I'm sanding everything down. It's not too coarse and it's not too light. I really like it, but whatever sandpaper you use is what you should use for this to keep everything in unison so there's no like really rough patch over here and the rest of it looks fine. So just a razor blade and some sandpaper. That's really all you need to do this. So let me change the angle of this camera so you can get a better view of what I'm doing, and we'll jump right into it. So I'm kind of hugging the camera right now. It's a bit awkward, but I'll try and make this work. I won't be able to get my face close to the Nerf logo because I have to show it on camera, but I will try and do my best to get it as well cut as it usually comes out. You can see right here there's a couple of scratches from my first attempt at this using this angle. But anyways, how do you use a razor blade to cut off a Nerf logo or Nerf text cleanly? It's really simple. First, make sure your razor blade is new, nice and sharp. The way you can tell it's new is it has some lubricant on it. Just wipe that off. But make sure your razor blade is nice and sharp. And before I continue, a big warning, you will probably cut yourself with this razor blade eventually. They can cause really bad cuts. I've had some pretty bad ones. So please be careful. Use your head. Never hold the razor blade like this. I always try and hold it like that. So yeah, be careful. Just use your head. So how do you remove the Nerf logo? Well, all you do is you come in at a very shallow angle, not flat, but you want it to be basically on the curve of the razor blade. I don't know how well you can see this, but where the blade is, that's the angle you want to use. So you just come in and you just start rocking it back and forth like this, and you'll notice it starts peeling up, and it'll slip every now and then, that's fine. But you just come in and you rock it back and forth, back and forth. And it's kind of fun to try and see if you can get the entire logo off with everything cleanly cut off of there. It's challenging, but it is possible. So just come in and rock it back and forth. You don't need to come in at any hard angles because that will cut into the shell more than you need. And eventually, especially on these big logos, you'll start cutting into multiple areas that'll make it really hard to cut. That's one reason I say to have a nice sharp razor blade, is because it makes it easier. But when that happens, just kind of slice downwards and it will flake off and you can continue. But you notice that I'm cutting this off and it's going pretty well. There's a couple of small scratches. That's because I'm having kind of a difficult time with this camera right in front of my face. Usually I'm up pretty close, making sure that everything's going smoothly, but just rock it back and forth. So let me get rid of all this stuff and I'll be right back. So once you're done getting the majority of the plastic off, just rub your finger over the area and you're gonna feel some bumps, some lumps, all that stuff from the bits of logo or text that are still left over. This is where the last part of this process comes in. You're gonna take your razor blade, you're gonna put it at about a 45-degree angle, and you're just gonna scrape. You can already see how much plastic is coming off over here. For those tight to reach areas, like around these fake rivets or bolts or whatever they are on the long shot, use the part of the blade about 1/3 of it towards one side to kind of just get that detailed little area. And just come in and you'll start to notice that the logo is disappearing into the background, and that's what you want. And eventually, you can notice all the plastic here, you'll end up with a very smooth surface. And where your sandpaper comes in is to just level everything else with the rest of your sanding. So just like that. And you may notice you can still read Nerf right here. Just come back with your razor blade and clean it up a little bit more. But that is essentially all you have to do to get a nice, clean, smooth shell without any sort of Dremel trenches all over the place from sanding drums. And it's that easy. These pack of razors, the 50 packs, are really cheap. I always have them on hand, and it's just another way you can use an open razor blade to help you mod better. So, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section, and I will try and answer them as best as possible. Hope you enjoyed this video, and happy modding.